If you talk to your parents, they often tell you about their time and how they used to entertain themselves, with stories that sound completely different from what we enjoy today. Back then, the circus was one of the biggest sources of excitement, full of strange talents, wild acts, and performers you couldn't forget even if you tried, and hidden inside that world were some of the most bizarre circus performers ever seen, the kind you probably never even heard about. Well, in this video, we're uncovering the top 15 most bizarre circus performers you never knew existed. So stay with us because this list is truly unbelievable. Number 15. Myrtle Corbin, the Four-Legged Woman. Crowds once rushed toward her tent with the kind of urgency usually reserved for headline attractions, pulled in by stories that sounded too unusual to ignore. Myrtle Corbin carried a physical structure that sparked endless curiosity, and the moment she stepped out, the entire space leaned forward at once. Her arrival in the world came on May 12, 1868. A detail circled in many old records because of the rare formation that shaped her body and allowed her to move with two central legs and two smaller ones alongside them. No stage manager needed elaborate build-up for her appearances. The moment the curtain dropped, her poise kept people fixated. Performers around her often relied on tricks or props, while she simply walked, sat, or held a pose, and the audience response stayed constant everywhere she traveled. Posters featuring her name circulated more aggressively than most acts of her era, and traveling shows used that steady attention to anchor entire lineups around her presence. Number 14. Wang Peng, the Human Unicorn. Whispers usually spread faster than ticket sellers could keep up, and Wang Peng's act thrived on that steady buzz. People stepped into his tent expecting exaggerated tales, only to freeze when they saw the prominent horn-like growth rising from his forehead. His name appeared in scattered pamphlets long before anyone bothered adding photographs, and the descriptions alone drew plenty of attention. Records note his birth around the late 1800s, placing his date of birth as 1873, though exact details vary depending on which troupe kept the books at the time. The growth that defined his act extended several inches outward, shaped in a way that kept even seasoned showmen curious. He didn't rely on dramatic gestures or special lighting. Simply standing under the lanterns was enough to stir the crowd. People traveled from nearby towns just to confirm the stories, and each visit fueled a stronger demand. Performers sharing the same circuit often remarked on how his tent filled up before theirs, and touring managers kept him front and center whenever routes expanded into new regions. Number 13. Fedor Jevtichuk, Jojo, the Dog-Faced Boy. Stories about unusual performers often grew legs of their own, and Fedor Jevtichuk didn't need a grand introduction for crowds to surge toward his platform. Thick hair covered his face and body in a way that instantly set him apart, giving his stage persona, Jojo, the sort of impact promoters could build entire tours around. His birth date is 1868, appears in several old circus rosters, usually squeezed between notes about his earliest appearances and the rapid rise of his reputation. Audiences stepped forward expecting some kind of feral behavior because many posters leaned into that angle, yet his calm manner surprised people more than his appearance. Showmen loved that contrast. It gave them material for every region they traveled through. No elaborate routines, no special props, just his presence framed by the theatrics of the era. He often stood quietly, while the crowd tried to grasp what they were looking at, and that steady fascination kept his name circulating across major circuits wherever tents went up. Number 12. Felix Verlet, the Elastic Skin Man. Audiences loved a performer who could surprise them without fireworks, and Felix Verlet managed that with nothing more than his own skin. Spectators watched him stretch patches of it farther than anyone expected. and the murmurs that followed usually turned into full amazement by the time he finished a single demonstration. His birth year is 1858, listed in scattered circus ledgers that often paired his name with notes about unusually flexible tissue and the crowds he gathered wherever he traveled. He built his act around quiet movements, lifting his arm or pulling at his neck just enough to draw gasps from the people in the front rows. Promoters positioned him strategically, either right before louder acts to build tension or immediately after them to reset the mood. Felix avoided dramatic speeches and relied instead on quick, efficient displays that left audiences trying to make sense of what they had seen. Number 11. Isaac W. Sprague, the Skeleton Man. Tents filled quickly whenever Isaac W. Sprague prepared to step into the lamplight, mainly because people kept hearing about a man so thin they struggled to picture him accurately. His frame looked almost weightless on stage, and that contrast with the heavy costumes of other performers made his segments stand out instantly. Show records from touring companies mention his background, and his DOB appears as 1841 in several old ledgers tucked between notes on travel routes and nightly attendance crowds, often paused the moment he appeared, trying to understand how someone could move with such light steps while still keeping a steady presence. Promoters leaned into that reaction, placing him in the lineup right after louder performers. So the shift in energy felt sharp and memorable. Isaac relied on simple gestures, sometimes standing still long enough for the front rows to settle into silence. Number 10. Rosa Richter, the Living Half-Girl. Lines formed early whenever Rosa Richter's name appeared on a poster because people kept hearing about the performer who moved with remarkable speed using only her arms. Her entrance always shifted the atmosphere inside the tent, especially when she pulled herself across the platform with practiced precision that caught newcomers off guard. Many circus archives mention her touring schedule long before they detail anything else, and deeper in those records, around the margins of performer lists, her DOB is marked as 1872. Written beside brief notes on her early training, Rosa didn't rely on dramatic monologues. She preferred sharp, efficient motions that showed how well she controlled her balance. The crowd usually leaned forward the moment she accelerated across the stage, surprised by the strength she displayed without any mechanical aids. Number 9. Charles Stratton, General Tom Thumb. The moment Charles Stratton entered a tent, the size of the audience suddenly felt magnified, as if the walls themselves leaned closer. Known professionally as General Tom Thumb, he carried an enormous presence despite a small stature that drew fascination across continents. Historical records note his DOB in 1838, tucked among details of early performances and correspondence with showmen who managed his tours. Stratton's appeal didn't come from stunts or complicated tricks. He relied on impeccable timing, expressive gestures, and a sharp awareness of audience reactions. Posters often featured him at the forefront of touring circuits, and he rarely shared a billing with acts that could overshadow his careful, measured routines. Stage managers favored his placement near the beginning or middle of lineups, knowing that his charisma set the tone for acts that followed. Each appearance maintained steady crowd engagement, and traveling companies depended on the draw he provided. Number 8. Captain George Costantinus, the Tattooed Prisoner. Shadows flickered across his tent as Captain George Costantinus slowly revealed the intricate patterns covering his body, each mark telling a story without a single word spoken. Spectators leaned closer, captivated by the dense tattoos that ran from neck to fingertips, a spectacle unusual enough to dominate conversations in nearby towns. His date of birth is recorded as 1833, appearing in sparse circus logs alongside notes on early tours through European cities and growing public interest. Costantinus didn't rely on grand gestures. A slow turn, a raised arm, or a simple step was enough to draw murmurs from the crowd. Promoters scheduled him strategically, often pairing his act with music or light effects that highlighted the tattoo's details. Each performance emphasized precision rather than theatrics, making the viewing experience intensely focused. Touring managers noted that audiences frequently returned multiple nights to examine subtle aspects they missed the first time, and that consistent fascination ensured he remained a headline fixture in nearly every major circus lineup he joined. And now let's talk about number 7, Stefan Bobrowski, the lion-faced man. A full mane of golden hair framed Stefan Bobrowski's face, giving him a striking presence before he even moved. Known as the lion-faced man, he wandered the circus floor with deliberate gestures, each one emphasizing his unusual features without needing a script or prop accounts of his life. Mention the year 1900 as his DOB, tucked between references to early performances in European sideshows. Stefan's movements were slow but purposeful, often pausing mid-step to let the details of his appearance register with onlookers. Unlike other acts, he didn't rely on noise or spectacle. The natural symmetry of his mane and facial structure carried the fascination. Posters highlighted him alone or alongside curious companions, yet the focus remained on his distinctive look. Each show adapted to his measured pace, and his positioning in the lineup shifted depending on other performers' energy. Even seasoned circus staff remarked on how he commanded attention simply through posture and presence, making him a consistent highlight without needing elaborate routines. Number 6. Melvin Burkhart, the human blockhead. A sharp gleam caught the light as Melvin Burkhart lined up nails, spikes, and other tools along the edge of the stage. Born in 1907, he developed a reputation for inserting objects into his nasal cavity with unflinching precision, turning each act into a spectacle that left audiences debating how it was possible. Unlike performers who relied on grand theatrics, Burkhart's focus was on timing and skill. Even small adjustments made each stunt feel tense and unpredictable. The crowd often held its breath during the shortest moments, captivated by the combination of daring and meticulous control. Placement in the lineup varied widely, sometimes early to jolt energy into the tent, sometimes later to contrast with more flamboyant acts. Posters emphasized his unusual talent, often featuring close-ups of the instruments he used. Each performance had its own rhythm, from the smallest nail to the longest spike, ensuring no two shows felt identical. Burkhart's technique became a talking point for seasoned circus goers and newcomers alike. Number 5. Priscilla, the monkey girl. Thick facial hair and expressive features made Priscilla a figure impossible to overlook, earning her the nickname Monkey Girl in sideshow circuits. She moved across the stage with calculated energy, drawing attention through subtle expressions rather than elaborate props. Touring records list her DOB as 1875, woven into the notes about early performances alongside her husband, the alligator-skinned man, though the exact day is seldom mentioned. Priscilla's act thrived on timing. A slight tilt of the head, a sudden shift of weight, or a glance toward the audience created a sense of curiosity. Without exaggeration, managers often placed her near acts that required a calm pause, using her presence to reset the crowd's attention between louder, faster performers. Posters and flyers highlighted her unique appearance. But the act itself was simple, relying on steady, repeated movements that kept viewers engaged without overwhelming them. Let's move on. Number 4. Prince Randian, the human caterpillar. Movement without limbs drew gasps when Prince Randian rolled across the stage, propelling himself with precise motions that turned his condition into a striking visual act. Born in 1871, he adapted every performance to the limitations of his body, crafting techniques that allowed him to light cigarettes, handle small objects, and interact with the props around him seamlessly. Unlike other acts that relied on music or dramatic effects, Randian's approach was methodical, almost mechanical, yet mesmerizing in its exactitude. His segment often opened or closed shows depending on the energy the manager wanted, and each setup was slightly different, tailored to the space available in tents across cities. Posters highlighted his nickname, the Human Caterpillar, but the performance itself focused on ingenuity rather than spectacle. Small details, the way his hands gripped objects, the smoothness of his rolls, the efficiency of each gesture, became the centerpiece. Number 3. Annie Jones, the Bearded Lady. A full beard framed Annie Jones's face, immediately drawing attention amid the colorful tents and lively banners. Born in 1865, she embraced her distinctive appearance, allowing it to define her segment without relying on excessive theatrics or props. Her movements were deliberate, often pacing the stage in ways that emphasized natural poise rather than flamboyance, while the intricate grooming of her beard became a focal point of curiosity. Managers positioned her strategically in lineups, sometimes to soften the energy after loud acrobatic acts, other times to serve as a surprising introduction before fast-paced segments. Flyers and posters focused on her striking facial hair, yet her performance relied on subtle gestures, tilts of the head, steady stances, and quiet interactions with objects she carried on stage. Each setup revealed different details, from how her beard caught stage lights to the way she balanced herself on small platforms. Number 2. Blanche Dumas, the Three-Breasted Wonder. Costumes and stage props were carefully arranged around Blanche Dumas, designed to accentuate her unique physique without overwhelming the visual flow. Born in 1880, she moved across the platform with precision, adjusting her movements so that each step highlighted symmetry rather than spectacle. Her performance relied on balance and control, a quiet technicality that distinguished her from the more flamboyant acts nearby. Unlike many performers who leaned on gestures or noise, Blanche emphasized subtle posture shifts, small changes in orientation, and the positioning of objects she interacted with on stage. Lighting and tent setups were often modified to ensure every detail was visible, but she never exaggerated her motions for effect. Managers found her adaptable, slotting her in lineups that required structural harmony rather than shock value. Each routine presented tiny differences in placement and movement, creating variety through mechanics instead of theatrics. Number 1. James Morris, the Elastic-Tongued Man. James Morris commanded attention by bending expectations with a skill that seemed almost impossible. He could extend, twist, and fold his tongue in ways that defied common perception. Born in 1895, he integrated this peculiar ability into his act without relying on music, lights, or exaggerated theatrics. Instead, the focus was purely on motion, how far, how fast, and how precisely his tongue could reach, curl, or interact with small objects placed on stage. Each performance was adjusted to the size and layout of the tent, giving every show a slightly different visual pattern. Posters highlighted his talent, but the real intrigue came from witnessing the technical dexterity in real time. The act's tempo shifted naturally, depending on the sequence of maneuvers, and subtle variations ensured no two appearances felt identical. Morris's approach treated the tongue not as a gimmick, but as a highly controlled instrument. Dive into the strange and fascinating world of circus oddities where history meets spectacle, and the stories of performers who defied expectations continue to amaze. If you've enjoyed uncovering the bizarre, share your thoughts in the comments below and spark conversations about the acts that left you stunned. Let friends and fellow enthusiasts in on these unbelievable tales by sharing this video and help keep these extraordinary histories alive. Don't miss out on more captivating stories. Hit subscribe to stay connected with adventures that challenge imagination and curiosity. Your support makes exploring these remarkable performers possible, and we truly appreciate every like, comment, and share that fuels this journey. Thank you for being part of the audience that celebrates the unexpected, the extraordinary, and the utterly unforgettable in the circus world.